biggest undoing that I had with Action SA. I kept my private life away. So after I had an affair in the political space, we graduated to a place where I decided to say, you know what, actually there's nothing wrong with me. I can love my wife of 25 years and love this woman and make an honest woman of her, an honest woman of that other one, and therefore I can marry in polygamy. There's nothing wrong. So I went into that space, and I think what I then did was to keep that to me. That was private. That was something that was not public. I actually had never intended to really be a flag bearer for polygamy in this country. Yeah, no, I was cool. I was happy. I do what I do. Because you know what that does, it almost paints a picture of a politician who cannot be trusted because they then want to paint you as a black man who can't keep your zip close. And I think that becomes the direction that they take. And for me, when you are honest enough to be able to say, "Ke a o rata mme Matau," but there's also Mama whom I'm in love with, and I want to make an honest woman of this woman. Actually, that takes a lot of maturity and leadership in it. I mean, they'll never do 2-3 years. So it really becomes something important. But the most important thing, was my biggest undoing in that space, was that I took very bold decisions. I was a caucus leader, and there were a number of decisions that needed to be taken. One of the things that we had done was that we are not going to play politics. I was always going to take people who I believed were fit to do the job and were strong enough to do the job. And somehow you then had the rest of the other guys who felt Marlena must be a councillor. Because all of a sudden, and that's the thing, once you get into politics, everyone wants to be a councillor and an MMC and whatever. I mean, people love power. But you get position, position. So that was our biggest undoing. So they wanted to use this thing because now people know that this guy has actually 2 other women that he's with, and Rena, everyone else knows this one. So they wanted to use that, and it became, so that was my biggest undoing, which if I have to advise every man out there, to say, if you ever find yourself in any space that you have found a woman or muratang, and you can afford to raise a bigger family, do not lie to your wife. Go home and tell them, but eventually women understand because they anticipate that that's who we are. They are wired that way to know that men are actually polygamous. But then obviously everyone takes, I don't want to say takes chances, but if I can get you to just look at me, why not? It's human nature, and they can throw it. But it's not about polygamy. The point is, that became my biggest undoing because being involved with this lady, and people thought and they can use that, and when they couldn't use that as a cause for unhappiness, we ended up in a space where it became something else, and they had to fabricate the nonsense that they did, and eventually it has been proven that that was fabrication of the biggest order, and it's unfortunate that when that happens, your life has been messed up, you know.
So this is where I wanted to talk to you about. So in political spaces, there's always a problem of they call it if you have worked with white people a lot, we will talk about culture, the difference of culture. This is how African people do this, how white people. But at the crux of the matter, when things are really happening, people ignore those things. You spoke about for the fact that because you were in a polygamous setup, people, because they define it as a sign of disloyalty. They wanted to paint you, because Jacob Zuma survived that for the longest of time, and I want to congratulate him for being steadfast and standing his ground. People wanted to shame him, but the good thing about him is he had the Zulu people who live that life, and on an everyday life they see it and they tolerated it. So I want to ask you, when that was happening and there were allegations of rape, what was the story behind? What did you feel? Because you somewhat indicate that without proper sit down to, let's hear your side of the story. The old man Mashaba, he just shot from the hip. typical Mashaba, by the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I honestly feel he goes to do press without informing the team, without speaking to the team, without even taking the position of the party, like the things he said about Putin and arresting people. I don't understand that, but I want you to speak on that.
Yeah, look, I think when that happens, I think I just became an unfortunate victim of a combination of a number of things. Mashaba, when you know him and people closest to him, they'll tell you that he always likes to say, you see, when you see a snake, you kill it and you burn it. so for him, it's a sign of being macho, bravado, like, I don't take chances. You could double cross him and Mashaba, you won't come back. So you almost get this thing of a man, either maybe never go school. So when you finally become the guy, you want to show people also exactly. So maybe the guy still needs counseling, because really it is uncalled for. Sometimes great leaders produce themselves in those who are closest to them by making sure that you mentor some guys. If I was in this position and there were allegations of that nature to a potential good future leader who is in my ranks.
He lost the gem by you, and
thank you so much.
I know, because I've seen your results. I've seen your results. The reason I was saying we were one of those who were shocked action rise in those local elections. We knew you were in the space, and we knew you were running to push this, and the numbers were speaking and they were telling. But he lost the gem.
No, absolutely. And if people is human.
Yes.
Even if I was the leader, and there was an Abel Tau and a Menhem Mashaba, and there are these allegations, the first thing I would have done, even before the thing came out, I would have called the man to my house. He's been to my house many a times. Say, come here, and then I say, what nonsense is this? You're going to give me your side of the story, and I understand, because you're not just an activist there. You are one of the leaders. I stood with you and I was posted side by side with you, Kodi Paling, and I said I want you to be mayor, and I put my stamp and my reputation on the line for you. So you owe me an explanation, and they'd come in and say, no, this is the situation, this is the truth, this, that. Then you don't have to adjudicate. Then you institute your own independent inquiry. I mean, I subjected myself. I said I'm willing to put to step aside so you can investigate. Then you go and get objective individuals who can go and probe the thing. I mean, the prosecutor/initiator in the case was a lady who had an affair with one guy Motswani, who was the regional chair, where it felt that did not make him an MMC, and there was things, and they were very close with the person who was the so-called chair. Now, it was a lot of. That's why I'm in court. I can tell you now. However long it takes, they can stall all they want. I was looking at my legal team, and I hope I can but I'm just going to show them flames in court. It doesn't matter how long it takes. I'm willing to wait, because these things take long and whatever. But the case was a joke, and how they arrived at the thing is an absolute joke. So it said.
Before you go for that, I want you to unpack it, because at some point we had NPA is going to who's the identity of this person? Is it speakable? Because if you have went to court, it means we can speak about the name of the victim. And the problem with this thing in South Africa is we are afraid to talk about it. Not giving you platform or people would say, because when you are painted with such, we are supposed to away from when without even hearing your side of the story. And the purpose of this is for you, so we could explain, we could understand where we're going from. And so before we say the victim is right or the perpetrator is right, that's not our business. The business is for you to be afforded the opportunity to speak. But if you think the thing that you want to speak about, because the court is still going to decide on them, it's fine. But the ones that are in the public domain and you want to disclose, that I applaud you to do it, and I beg you to do it, because there are people who want to vote for you. You need to remove this cloud over your head, because I think that is very important.
Yeah. No, look, absolutely. I think one thing that you would know, I always have said I have a daughter. And I would want her to grow and live in a country where she can be safe from sex pests out there. And we live in a country with the highest prevalence of rape. So honestly, I never took offense of the fact that I needed to go through, to be processed like everyone, because that's the only way we are going to get around the whole issue of GBV and rape. We need to be very decisive. We need to really be tough, but we also need to not create victims or victimize people, using this whole sword of rape and sexual assault. So basically what had happened there, and that is how the NPA. So my saving grace was, after the so-called incident, so my wife, with these people, we are friends. They're family friends, very close to my wife, this woman, this guy, very close. So this guy works for me. I employed him. This guy, I didn't know he was disgruntled. He wanted to be tripleless. Now, things come out raw. That's how they got to him. He always had been going around to say him tripleless and whatever.
What
so senior strategic support officer in the office of the MMC. It pays well over $1 million a year, and it's really basically he's the 2IC to me. He's the go-to.
So that person is maybe chief of staff in your office.
In my office. That person becomes. So this guy.
That's political appointee.
Yes.
Meaning that he believed because he was close to you, you could.
I'd actually appointed him in that position in the previous term. When I was MMC guy. So when we came to this one, he had an expectation, almost an entitlement to say, I must be this thing. So I think that's where the gap came for starters. So now I learned, Broro had a problem here. So on the day in question, we were working from home. This thing I was running service delivery room from home. We did that run Arfeta like Bajita, a bit later. He's supposed to go home. Then he doesn't phone out him. I don't know what we grew up together with this guy. Not grew up together. Anyway. Called a friend of ours to say, Emrana, Panga Watla. Panga Unnasba, couple 7. He comes through Ovale Froyai. Now called Brayaga Young with him and Tlahella, Gimon, whatever. Haolena, what Tlahelo Tlalebs. So the Panga on a limtwai, Timen on a limtwai, Mefro class spanning my first wife. So there's now 3 couples here. Blah blah, instead of going home, apparently he starts texting his wife to say, we miss you here, whatever the case is. So the wife comes to come and pick him up because they only have 1 car. So this guy can't drive like that. Now, Babalela Baliwa, and instead of him Ubering back home, whatever, he Ubers his wife. So his wife gets around 11. Out is completely lost, like out. Then, and I'm happy that Mashiane, you are doing this because this guy was so well funded. I remember there was an hour-long show, go SAFM, dedicated to this. He was even brought to studio. Yeah, that I'm sorry, but not go studio. Prime time, bro. The best show.
To characters, isn't it?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I was painted as this big politician bully who thinks he can sleep with every woman, and they needed to deal with me, bro. Hey, I've never gone through. So I'm happy that I get to tell South Africa my side.
Thank you.
You know, so then the guy can't sleep, whatever. Then we pick him up, Remisa. So in my house, behind it, a room there. So I don't know who suggested, because, you know, as we're talking to say, Mara, if the mana via Alikamko, you know, it was just almost midnight at the time. We are going to have a problem. If we ever have a problem, it was during the spiking period.
Oh, Mama Ting drive.
Mama Ting wa drive. Oh, Twansamo drive. But she has come. Bamu ubile in.
Yes.
So that she can drive the husband back home.
Yes, good.
So her laisha out. Yes. So the team there suggests to arobal because we've got an extra room that they can sleep in. Otherwise, if bagabale flop moteleng, agreement, everyone agrees. Come midnight.
No, wait. Why didn't the original plan of Mama Ting
that's the whole point, that now it clicks or something was odd. Because the car was parked like 5 meters from Modi Autiaga Fitla. And the Auti made sure but he could at least be drawn 14-15 meters to a bed in the other room. So it's straight. It was easier to get in the car than to actually go to the room and sleep.
Sure.
So and a program the next morning, it was more pressing because he would have to sleep here. So it would have made sense for an insistence to go home. Like there was absolutely no reason that they would spend the night. But you know, when you are used to people, you are hopelessly in the mind.
Sure.
They sleep in the morning. My wife has a baking business, They know she lives around 3 normally. Can't to 5. No, because because the issues still at my wife was once spiked. We thank God it did not go the route Babangile.
Sure.
So we then get to a space where these guys Orbal. Asne atamai. My wife left, I think, about 10 to 5 somewhere there. And sometimes
in the morning.
Yes. To go to work. Asne atamai. About 10 minutes or so later, I go downstairs, go back, and I go to your laptop because charger So I didn't have the charging head, you buy it separately.
Sure.
So you charge your laptop and then you plug it in. So I go there to go get that. Hey, if you go fat in net, and I go buy this man's wife jumps. She almost like screams out to say, and no, she jumps out of that room. She comes out of that room. She says to me, hey man, husband is sleeping in the room, or we get our Roberts, I don't know. No man, I apologize for what happened yesterday. I did not speak well with you guys. You are not responsible for what this man does. Flopless, let's have it. Anyway, Arvai, it's fine. I hear you. Let me go. I've got a long day. No one follows me. You know, honestly, bro, in my mind, things are still hazy.
Yes.
I'm not thinking anything of it. We went upstairs. There's a flight of 12 stairs, bro. That woman, untouched, nothing. She went up. She went there. Then it goes in. Then there's a balcony this side, and there's a door straight to the balcony. They've been to my house many times. Then she gets right next to me here.
Yes.
Like, And then I don't know, angry till I think, okay. Ke bula till ke me for ke bula lebati. Pele ke bula lebati le lang to lo right out local balcony because it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
But I'm not taking much of it because she
How
says
do
she's
I?
still what? Bro, plug this thing, plug. Then I went out. She went to the balcony side. Then I went through to the balcony myself, and then a lot of
Men sa blokile go fast.
men blokile go fast, or auto heal like it's whatever. Then I go. Then we finish talking garage on ukuta and whatever. Okay, at how 20 for us. As we go in, I go as I come back in, the woman comes straight to me. She did push her back. In the moment when I pushed her back, that's when she was like, no, like I pushed her back. Because it doesn't make sense. And you see, there's a question that gets asked to say, did you kiss her back? I said, yeah, Kim soon.
Yes.
Why do you kiss her back? No, at the time, we had a lot to drink. You see, now I was and I used to blow people for breathalyzer. One thing that happens with the mind when you drank tonight, when you go to sleep kawan yamata or tau health or haga 6, your mind has no reference to your sober state, so it's only sober, but you are still intoxicated. The alcohol content in your system is still beyond the limit.
Yes.
Right? So and that is why a lot of people make these mistakes, but because Yana is still insist to get sharp because
the percentage is our count.
Yes, and it still slows your reaction time.
Sure.
It still has the same effect.
Sure.
But because you don't have a reference point because of the break that you've had or of it, a sober state, you believe you are sober. So that woman comes on to me, then can push her back. That woman left that room. She actually left her phone. Nana phone also. I get maybe Nana Noroto record or whatever. Yeah, I press a record. I get it. Or maybe the recording I can't help them because I really load 20 diraha.
Sure.
So she says, phone I followed her, come off her now good steps in go fast. I was ashamed. Already managan retla go di mo bo botle kom tlhalosetsa kere wa tlhalo anyore letswal out yaka ai e beta be felang. Went back up and then it was around 5:15 then. I can make up the time because obviously I can work out the time I went out.
Yes.
My saving grace was the estate in Namoyona. There's very good cameras everywhere that catch every aspect, so you can't miss a movement. So I go down Kauma 6, as it was 6, I can't remember the timing anyway, about 45 minutes from there or so. Go downstairs, Evan Motunzi goes off. I'm like, Joanna Unzimo, Dintang. It's like, our Joe, Robalabiang afterward nearly happened. Can Dintang, what's I say?
Amen.
Disaster.
Oh.
How will you go to Kobong? Come,
yes.
Come and Robeti, Unzi goes off in. I feel like I currently kill so I want to know the was starting. No, that was starting great disaster. Kurpila Nanyaka Kamane, she can't go back to sleep. Honestly, that's what I'm thinking. I can't joke about how or join. Maybe let's talk.
Yeah.
I to join. That was what saved me. There is a whole footage. So at least now you can put faces, postures, and everything to the so-called body language, to the so-called people that were in the room that you can't talk. Because in there, she says, I tried to force myself to her. She talks all sorts of nonsense. So at least now, you can look at the people and at least be able to make out what is the probability of what would have happened. It's the same thing that I did in the hearing action. I demonstrated to them that there's no way, and that is why when they made the ruling they did, actually, they said no, they can't prove what happened. That would be proven by the court, because really they could see that nothing happened there. And then they then said my conduct was, and the issue of conduct it's on a girlfriend when the call was made. There was a fabricated lady who never came, never testified, apparently was supposed to come and testify, or there's another one but all sorts of nonsense. All of them did not come to the hearing, so that I could at least then be able to say these are the people and this is what. But this is what I was fired for. I was fired for conduct that is unbecoming as a leader of the party. There's no one who came up to say this is what he did. There's a guy who I'm still planning he is on record under oath saying na kile ka botsa yena gore ke robetse le ngwana 14 years, and then he ke fetsa kanya go mo fa chelete gore a squash this thing, and yena I asked her why ngwana no hodile if that happened, why ya sa ema police, because mlata o like I can't say whoever she is, wherever o go claimang gore that is can go now. I mean, because people like dilo for melato ya batho ba khale bo RK and everyone else, and the same law applies here to say she can go now as an adult yena ka yena a hodile and say Abel Tau and that be tested. So those were the things that were brought in, and that is also a guy who had beefy political scores to settle, and bro, that guy got funded. I'm told they bought him a house, they bought him a bucket, they put in an additional borehole. He's got a small farm holding. They built him they paid off his wife's car because so they really made it worth his while to do what he did to me. But you see, I know now no amount.
So speak about the conduct. The conduct
had to
you were compromised.
There's allegations that I would have done all these things that apparently they put to say these people must come and testify or get it. There's those people, then those people suddenly abatle. In fact, I think somewhere they wanted to make an insinuation or these people are scared of me. Because now honestly I've never really been someone, I honestly cannot even hurt a fly, even if I say so myself. I can tell you that much. So it was really unfortunate that when they got there they decided to say this is what I do. Then action SA said no, we can't prove Dimani did what they said he did, but anyway, outswing his conduct, let's terminate everything and fire him. And I'm saying there's never been anything that brings my conduct into question. I campaigned as a mayoral candidate. If there was anything, that was the time when people put things out there when we are campaigning. I mean, I've already seen the video and everything. So you always going to know. That's when things come out. I've really been squeaky clean. The fact that I kept to myself, my family setup, I don't think I owed anyone an explanation. I need to be judged on my capacity to do the work that I do and be able to be there and do my work diligently and efficiently. And I think that's what I was doing. I led well. I led the city well. I delivered when I needed to. I mean, there are deliverables that when you look at, you realize. So for me, that's something I never wanted to bring to the forth, and I just felt or something that stays there, it's something that was used against me. So yeah, that's how we did. I'll show you the video, by the way. I'll show you clips of the video.
Please do.
You did please
do.
Because I have them, and that's how when my legal team made representations, I mean, it was crazy, bro. They put together a solid argument that says there's absolutely no way that you can claim that someone violated you and still behave this way. And they unpacked the whole thing. And so we put it all together. I mean, the level of interference with the case, that guy was implicating himself, talking about in that hour slot, I think there was some coach appeal, talking about how the docket, he had to give the police the contents of the docket so that they put together. I mean, the docket get that man, and then South Africa.
Okay, one last thought. So there was a narrative that says there was consent, and then there's narrative that says when you say it didn't happen. Of course, the last one is it happened by force. Which of these are you standing with?
Look, it didn't.
What's your defense?
It didn't happen. Nothing happened. Nothing.
Happen.
There was no rape. There was no sexual intercourse. There was no penetration. There was nothing of that.
Technically, if we put it technically, and I'm saying this with the greatest of respect. Technically, you survived the advances. Is that what you're saying?
I actually am saying that.
Because if it was the other way around, it could have been an allegation that would.
In fact, I still wonder, and that's what I want to probe. Once we are done with the campaigns and one is back,
Yes.
So once we can afford lawyers again,
yes.
I want to look at possibilities of pursuing her.
Yes.
Because I feel there is a justifiable cause for criminal injury. I think she defamed me, and I think we need to set an example. These things destroy lives. I was of the view that no, I'm not. I'm not. On this one, I swear, even if it's the last thing I do, there must be a woman in South Africa who is held accountable for false accusations of rape. That there must be somewhere. There's that young man in Emelo who hung himself and someone are naked. There's me, who my kids had to go through the indignity of being seen as children of a would-be rapist. I've got 3 wives who had to look at themselves and say, Reshotileng, that you would want to go and rape. I've got families who sat in shame because somebody somewhere had conjured in their mind that they're going to fabricate nonsense. Honestly, they deserve their time to answer for these things, and I'm not going to let it go. If I have told myself that there must be a woman in South Africa who will set a very clear example, so that even in future, when women, because we won't win the issue around GBV, when these things happen, we will never get around to a point where we can, with absolute certainty, put away perpetrators of sexual, assault and sexual violence. Because these guys will always look back and say, Abel Tau was falsely accused, Thomas Moore was falsely accused, and all of those things. And when that happens, believe you me, you get into a space where you are, as a country, going to always have to be circumspect to say, are we moving, are we not moving, are we moving, are we not moving? So we are not going to allow that situation. I'm not.
2 things. Number one, Lesego Makhubela released a statement through the ANC when Putimanamela's wife was acquitted, being pursued that she physically abused a female VIP protector. And in the statement, it contained the lines of, every time someone projects, falsely by the way, that a female has been violated and it's doing damage to the real women who need help. While you answer that, please also answer this fact that we spoke about, that Msholozis was projected and painted as this polygamist. Do you think this allegation been thrown at you, they believed your life as a polygamist would have added to your reputation, or the story would have been more believable because you do have a polygamous relationship?
Yeah, I think actually that was the angle. I mean, immediately, when you think of a polygamist, you probably think of a guy who is lazy, doesn't want to go and work, hopefully. He's always in short. That's all he's ever doing. That's what he's thinking of. And so, because there's that stereotype, they knew that if they threw a rape allegation, it will stick, especially to a black politician. I mean, there's two things that if you want to destroy a black politician, then you are done. I mean, if you can do one of these three, by the time you come back, and that's what these people know. They know that the justice or the legal justice system takes long. I mean, my case selection is a 2022 November. We are in 2024, approaching June.
Yes.
Almost 2 years. We don't have a court date because then the heads of arguments did not come, and then we wait for this, and by that time, our fellow they know that they'll drag it out to a point that you have nothing. Because it is a high court matter, and a high court matter who are senior counsel or courting. So you're going to have a problem.
So by all intents and purposes, you are living this Java nightmare, because during this Java nightmare, it was while there was this cloud, Abel Tau can eat.
Yeah,
you are eating very difficult. Every door you knock, but man, you don't want to be associated with. Like I say, so yeah, because you are supposed to be wafisha.
Yeah.
So in other words, you are suffering while the allegation is not proven.
What broke my heart the most, and I'm honest with you, it really did. My son got there's this red letter that you pick up,
okay,
because we're not paying for his school. Now, he has to go to school and face his peers and live through the indignity of the allegation, Papa High, and at a later stage have to really get threats that he'll be thrown out of school because Batswadi Bahai cannot pay. My kids have had to live through the indignity. You know, we take them lightly. That you go from a home where you'd have no electricity because people think in this life more
sure.
Where when you don't have electricity at home, your kids don't have internet, and when they don't have internet, the game internet. So his peers know because the guy can no longer connect to play with us. He was playing with us.
Yeah.
He's not connecting anymore. I have suffered in the period that we've been through the indignity of
Yes.
And you don't know who to call. You get to a point where you can't call people because they won't pick up a call because they know so you don't call your house signifies
because you are tainted.
Yes, because you are tainted. I mean, it takes away everything. I mean, I couldn't at the time go back even into the rail industry. I'm probably one of the best in this country, practitioners in the space, but I can tell you I couldn't even go there and practice. That's how much damage these things do. And believe you me, I said to someone close to Nna, when people do that to you, they have attempted to kill you. I have contemplated suicide at some point. When it was tough, you'd sit there alone and say, and remember, Hore, if I leave my kids like this, I would have condemned them to this life and they will never recover. And the only reason, I got to a point at some point when I said to somebody, and I'm being honest, like sincerely, when I said, you get to a point where dying is a luxury.
Yes, sir.
Where if you were to commit, there are people who can think of committing suicide, because you can rest, and there are people who can take care of your kids. When I was thinking, maybe the brothers will come through and mama ngakatla, and the wife will take over and the people have that luxury. Some of us don't even have that luxury, knowing, or if I were to die, my kids are not coming out of this situation. They will never. They are going to stay as banabata raper and ended up as whatever. And even my kids would carry that stigma. That's how bad it is. And so, it became so tough, bro. It became very, very, very tough. One day I'm hoping to be able to can really have a session and hopefully we can bring out guys who are victims of women and malicious lies and the kind of damage that does. You have all your creditors, you have the credit card out to you get called by everyone, you do all these things, especially when you have got this thing, or people think, or when you are MMC, you've got a stash load of money stacked somewhere, so it doesn't matter, you've really been, and it's not true. It's not true. There's really some of us and many around South Africa who are doing honest work, who are diligent in the work that they are doing. And so when these things hit you, it finds you in a space where you absolutely have nothing. You see, I'm on the campaign trail. I don't have many but I do have a bigger car that I have. I have to decide, can I 500, 20 years away to go campaign now, and then get fit them more. If you got a magakuloyela, go stack. So I have to use a smaller car. And guys into saying those are the realities of how you need to claw your way back up. It affects absolutely everything. Absolutely everything comes to a standstill. It is the worst way to kill someone. I honestly think it's better I don't promote that, but it is better to do that than to brick by brick break a man down to a point. I used to tell people to survive again, I drank my whole bar. There's nothing, there's no alcohol. I would drink bit by bit by bit. It's done. I had 2 boxes of cigars that I had as presents from friends and whatever. They're all gone. I'm keeping those boxes as a reminder of how I had to cling on to life. When you sit there and say, I'm going to have a cigar to remind me how life was once good and it can be good again someday. Just to hold on to something positive that you can hold on to. That's how difficult it has been. We go out there and we tell people, vote for us and do this and let's do this and let's do that and the other, because we've got passion to help people. But believe you me, one of the things, my party took the biggest knock. I do think, I can tell you now, if it wasn't for some of these challenges, I don't think in terms of the work ethic and the work that we put in would be in our league. But you'd end up in a space where you can't. You go into a space, you talk to people, and when you leave, somebody says, leader, 100 rand, and the petrol in your car, and you have to look this person in the eye and say, I just sold you hope. And I'm thinking, or maybe, then when you live there, having not been able to resolve 100 rand problem, to somebody looking at you to say, you want to resolve my long-term problems when you can't resolve 100 rand problem. I'm saying, and you came here and you said, let's vote for a better government that can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm saying, while waiting to vote for a better government, and you can't even do that. And that's the difficult. That's why when we are asking a question of people who built from zero, bro, right now we built from nothing. Nothing. I mean, I sit here, I can count in my hand people I can call for help in one hand, people you can call for help. I mean, and honestly, I want to give one person flowers. In that time, there's a pastor, Bishop Ebenezer Bible Church. Not even my pastor. That man, Bishop Mohuera, I will forever hold that man close to Pillar. That guy was the first guy to actually ever call me to say, how you feel, Chief? I just want to talk to Abel Tau. And bro, I'm telling you, it was the first time someone actually cared how I was.
Sure.
And yeah. Sorry. These things shouldn't be happening.
No, it's tough, man. It's politicking is tough. You survived the worst.
So yeah, those people tried to kill me, bro. There's no way they're getting away with this. They tried to kill me in the worst possible way.
Yeah.
And it can't be. There's too many men who die in vain out there because no one believes them, because this and that, and someone made an allegation and we become victims because of greed of people, because someone looks at you and thinks, sorry, these things came easy. I mean, you just got them. You woke up and things happen.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, but yeah, God has been good, bro.
Yeah.
God has been good. He kept me. My wife stayed the course. My kids believed, and we are here.
No, thank you very much. As we leave that one, UAT. You came out of UAT as I did my research. United African Transformation, is it?
Yeah.
Are you a founding member there?
No, so what happened in the midst of the troubling situation? Now you are sitting there, and you every door is shut on you.
Sure.
These guys come and say, Emrena, we formed a party, it's registered, we've not launched and everything, but we don't want this thing to be yakereke, we want actually a leader from outside.
Yes.
So come and work with us, take over the reins. Yeah.
Okay.
Say it's your party, right? Then no, come on, why not? I mean, flop up,
yeah,
bro.
Yes.
So I came in. I did not found UAT.
Okay.
I'm honest.
Who at the time were the leaders?
Look, there was a group of about 4 or 5 people who were leading this thing at the time, and then they approached me through a friend who had always known me, and I think more than anything at the time, Lena, I really needed reprieve, and honestly, UAT was my saving grace as well. Because at the time when my enemies were rising, Abel Tau was cancelled everywhere and everything, then I imagined there's this group of people, I mean, who are giving placards and Badabaitishem, Adiretau forever, and it really shocked people and got them to step back. But then, as we progressed in the journey at UAT, it really became difficult because it was clear that their vision of what needs to be done is different from mine. It was more of something that they wanted to do internally, I believe, and I then decided to say, you know what, this thing won't work for me. But I also think, I was fresh from the rebound there, this whole thing. You're not thinking straight. When you are in a free fall, bro, and there's nothing to hold on to, it's almost like the movie Teda where, and you are rolling and you are hoping to anything or whatever. So at least you hold on to this one thing, and then at least it breaks the fall.
Yes.
And then suddenly you can look around, and then we move. Yes. So it helped break the fall.
Yes.
And somewhere I could then start rebuild and say I'm doing this thing. And obviously, you start rebuilding. You go into the normal stuff that you go into the raid industry, and everyone's like, hey, we can't hire you. And when I'm for making me and what. As your supervisor, when you go back to the environment, you're going to start from zero. It means you are going to a toolbox, where you go locomotiving, or fix a loco, and there's a supervisor who must give you instructions. And this guy would be sitting thinking, the hearing and matter. So it becomes a problem. I mean,
also you did attempt to go back to
I did.
Blue collar work.
I did attempt. I tried to go back. I applied to the last interview I had. There was this guy going to this place. So I applied during the application. These guys were desperate for artisans. He said to me, if you banking details, I've got the job for you to like someone who will let in low or at least I got the job. Yes, I just wanted to be sure I can need to you. Are you the one looking? And it's indeed you. No, don't worry. Whether I see everything about you, whatever, we'll just give you an answer or I knew that or I can flop it. Like those guys didn't even want to waste time getting into an interview. Come messy, they just decided, chief, we're not going to do anything. We know what you are capable of and whatever. That was it. I didn't get the job. I got a regret. What's up? A few days later. So really it was one of those where you realize, my back is against the wall, but you also have a passion to really help people. I mean, I didn't come into politics because really I wanted to be a chief. I felt I have something to offer. I work very hard every day, and I then decided to say, you know what, I'll stick it out. That's when we then, after the breaking from the UAT thing, then we went on to form the Transformation Alliance, TTA. With all its challenges, but we got it right eventually. Same thing was true. We worked hard, and I was very clear to say in this election, I'm not going to be a presidential candidate, and we are not going to go. We actually were planning to go only for Gauteng, but we were fortunate that Dr. Mbaharike and I had a vision of contesting nationally and whatever, bringing different parties together. And stemming from that, we then had an agreement, and that is why I'm the premier candidate for F4SD here in Gauteng. We are in alliance with them, and as a party, we will see what we do at 2026, but we'll still be around. Okay. So the West is over. If Nekile, I would say, like Samson,
and I'm happy for that. So we're at the end of the podcast. So what I normally say is, you are contesting those big names, your Banyazas, your Ramohopas. Ramohopa, by the way, we're not talking about speak. And then you in Gauteng, they'll be voting for you under which cap?
F4SD.
Okay.
Yes, Forum for Service Delivery.
And then, what is your projections? What numbers do you think you're gonna hit?
Yeah, you see, you call people big names and Boram Hopa Msogela Manaba Torsafaga Batum Basitin. I take him more.
She's not. Maratha Mali team.
Oh, it's a Mali team because Malali Chele.
Oh, but now upon him of 16 meters.
Yeah, I mean, I got 2 million. I can do 10 times what they can do. I give him more. honestly, bro, you know,
but she's working the ground, man. She goes to Peli, she goes to far-flung areas of the province. She works.
Like really, bro, you know, when you fell 16 million no jail. But on a serious note, I am standing for FOSD as a premier candidate. I'm very serious about being premier. Yes. I know we don't have the numbers yet because of obviously people don't know Forum for Service Delivery that well, which is the work we must do to get Forum for Service Delivery out there. People who know Abel Tau in Tshwane predominantly, and I still need to reach out to Ekurhuleni. We are very good because we've got big following and our party is healthy there. Johannesburg, we're doing okay. The West Rand and Sidibeng area, we are partnering with a party there called CSA Community Residents Association or Naramba hopola lebitso la teng and ba ntshwarele ba re the manage ka alliance partner
no ska logo, we put the logo
yeah
here.
Then those guys they are with us and they're quite big there, so I'm intending to really do well. They've got MMCs and everything. They're in government. FOSD is in government in the Northwest and everywhere in other areas. We were in government here in Tshwane. We were in my team and my people in Ekurhuleni were in government in Ekurhuleni. So one, we bring a lot of pedigree of people who know what they're doing. Who have been in government, who some are in government. So that is something good for us, which we want to say to people of Gauteng they must look out for, because we are not chancers.
Could you work with Laska?
Laska
is a team led by Tsepo Mahlangu. They are Lotus Gardens at Ridgeville.
Oh yeah. I once had a thing Lebona when they were doing
yes.
Yeah, I think at some point we did something.
Because I think if you guys, because he doesn't align Lebo Sanko and stuff, because he believes that those people are ANC.
Yeah.
So if the Forum for Service Delivery could work with other people of the same cause, you vote together, because what he struggles with whenever he needs to push mandates, there's no one in council who takes. You understand?
Even in province and everywhere. No, I think we'll reach out to them. There's a lot of grassroots organizations that we are working with, and we are open to working with many more. That is definitely how we are going to approach this election and the next one in Tshwane, because Tshwane must be removed, the DA must be removed, and their friends, and not because there's anything personal. They killed people in Hammanskraal. They killed children, Kadi Apollo Kwale, where there was never accountability, no compensation. They killed children, Koskirleke Kwale, and they insulted our people when a ruling was very clear to say those families must be compensated in line with the Michael Komape case. They gave those people 250,000 Babaropa and made them sign a non-disclosure. We are still coming to that thing to say black people can actually be comfortable for a black life that is lost. It cannot be that rate. So we know that they've been killing children throughout negligence, but over and above everything, you see, there's one failure. This government, Motswane, especially the ANC in Tshwane, is to blame for this thing. So what the DA will do is they will batter the parties they are with and the ANC to say the budget is pro-poor. So they'll pass a so-called pro-poor budget with all these projects that are going to benefit black communities. And then they will go and make preparations for projects in white communities and affluent areas. So when comes January, when we need to reprioritize and we realize that those projects, that money will not be used, it's a treasury, and those projects will not kickstart. You must now reprioritize. So you take those lots and then you move them into areas where similar projects are ready. Now, and all we are desperate to AG, treasury, so that so then and then you entrench inequality, because quality services are the and then every year is a pro-poor budget. Tell me what has been done in black townships of significance. Say we can look at nothing, zero. The last time there was a meaningful project, a community Koso Shanguve, was the building of Giant Stadium by the city. That was probably the only thing, and then not this one, Kia Sputla. You can do. He started the project in Refilwe, and then there was something that he was doing in Mamelodi. Like, this government has not started anything. The province who's doing that. The fire station in Mamelodi was Sputla's project. that they concluded. There's that fire station. I can go, from end to end. So
Randall had run next. Demand or Hadira next.
There's nothing that we let them ask you. They sold the Meral Mansion, bro. Mola is just a poster boy for handsball. You are doing these gimmicks. They sold the Meral Mansion. Yako extension 19 Trageville. You'll talk. Those houses didn't the toilet. They were never finished. They occupied illegal foreign nationals as we speak now.
Very sad. So here's the thing. Soli says he went to Rooival. That's Msimam. When he got there, he assessed everything. He checked what needs to be done. He checked his part. He wanted to do it. But as he wanted to go in, the people of Hammanskraal do not have water. Just let us know why.
Look, it is very sad that people of Hammanskraal don't have clean drinkable water, especially because that problem shouldn't be one that is impossible to solve. You need far less than 200 million to resolve the problem. And people in Hammanskraal could be having the same quality water as someone in Waterkloof for in Centurion. Now there's a pipeline.
How much do you envisage it could solve?
It could far less than 200 million. In fact, at the calculation when I was there, it would have been 170 million would have resolved the problem. There is a pipeline that runs from Block DD to what we call Rifenze, which was Stengwater before.
Sure.
It is 14 kilometers from Hammanskraal. If you erect a pump station in Rifenze halfway through, and be able to just increase the pressure and chlorination, and you push the pipeline straight into the reservoirs in Hammanskraal, you are going to pump enough water. There's enough water capacity from the own rainwater pipeline to supply Hammanskraal. Hammanskraal needs 54 megaliters for 54 million liters to supply everyone at the last count when I was there. Now, with that, you have got about 34 megs that you can source from what they call clap drift from the site Yabo Kungwini. So if you take that and give it to Hammanskraal East like you currently are doing, your deficit give and take is 20 megs of water. And you can get that from the rainwater pipeline that comes through from there. Then you can stop putting water tankers on the road, which the money on its own that you spend on your water tankers is enough to really make that project worth it. But also then you make sure that everyone gets clean drinkable water. And then what you then need to do is that purification plant as well as the issues of Rooival can be dealt with, because the same problem that you have in Rooival you have in Sunderland Ridge. Tshwane has about 14 of these wastewater works, only 3 that are working well, about 11 have got problems. Sunderland Ridge is discharging into the river system down to RTBS. That's why you have the silt you have, the kind of silt you have in RTBS. But the people in Atteridgeville are not getting water that makes them sick, because they don't have to be, that water doesn't have to be purified. And the same should be true for people in Hammanskraal. Why do you want to give them water that you are purifying yourself when we are not extending the rainwater pipeline? Obviously, and of course, rainwater challenges are there, and we need to confront them as a city, because what you have is a situation of overconsumption, which stems from huge water losses. One, because the DA government, when they got here, Sputa had something which they called War on Leaks. That was cancelled. It was a youth program that looked to train youth as plumbers and everything, and then they would be working on making sure that they fix leaks. That went away with Sputa because it was seen as a cadre pipeline to enrich cadres in the youth league. So these are some of the interventions that you need. Tshwane consumes more, and the reason rainwater is saying will throttle you is because you are using more than what you need to be using. And it is a scientific ration that has been established to say really we are overly consuming. So we need to fix that, but that should not be at the expense of people in Hammanskraal that we now find ourselves, or they find themselves in the situation they are. Yes, Tshwane has a responsibility to treat its effluent that come from houses, which goes to Rooival, which Rooival needs to be fixed. But when I took over, what I can tell you was that when I got there was not even a permanent plant manager. There was obviously no maintenance people. So the first thing I did was to employ someone on a full-time basis to manage the plant. Because if you want to optimally utilize a plant, you need some accountability. We then seconded in Rooival Power Station, there were artisans that were sitting doing nothing, while you don't have artisans this side, and you cannot afford to have that plant stand. Because when the plant stand and it's not working, then trust me, there is nowhere you can store the affluent that comes from our houses. That waste goes straight into the RPE River. So we needed to make sure that our response time is quicker. Security was beefed up, and we ensured that the cable theft that used to happen there no longer happens. Simple things, not rocket science, to make sure that that plant is always running. We then took the belt pressers out. The first one went in so that we can start with sludge management and make sure that we can fix that. There was an issue of aeration that we then went in. There is what you call maturation ponds at the end of the plant. So should it happen that the plant fails for whatever reason, for the period of time it will discharge into that, and then those saturation points or maturation ponds would then trap the sludge in there, or the affluent in there, so that until you are back online and then you are able to treat it. Those things were saturated, they were no longer doing the work that they needed to do. We started with the dredging process. We were dredging those. So there was real work that was being done. That is why there are videos of me where I could go in and be able to actually drink the water. When I was in charge, the problem with the water was a high concentration of nitrites. Now that with prolonged exposure causes complications in the body, and it can cause ill health, but it doesn't cause cholera. What you have now is basically unclean water that is being fed to the people. And it was said to see us getting into a space such as that one, where there is no accountability. Of course, that plant has other major issues. One, it is overcapacity, because it is designed to work at 110, 120 megaliters. Right now, it receives 140, 150 megaliters. So it's 30, 40 million liters of affluent that goes in that cannot be treated, even if it was working optimally. That's number one. And the second, there's what we call organic overload of that plant. So what it means is that if you had a dishwasher in your house, or a twin tub in the house here, which was designed to wash clothes that are for 15-year-olds and everyone above that age who is clean, and suddenly you become a car mechanic and your clothes get dirtier than they are, and there's oils, and this machine has to now start cleaning that kind of dirt which it wasn't designed for, then it will not be able to. That's what we call mechanical overload. So with time and industrialization, that plant was designed at an era where it was not meant to deal with what happens in Roslyn and the kind of overpopulation and the kind of population we have today and the challenges that are there. So obviously we need to redesign, but there were a number of solutions that we had when I researched. One of the easiest things is you can actually retrofit. I think the Dutch are very good in water technology, and we were talking with them when I was there. I'm looking at possible solutions of retrofitting into that plant the latest technology that is much more compact and can do more with what we have. So instead of huge construction, you could actually repurpose the same ponds and everything and ensure that you are able to respond to today's challenges of that plant and still be able to achieve what you need to achieve. But unfortunately, you see, the problem is you have got politicians, and the mindset of South Africans is like this. The South African mindset is one that says, I am here for 5 years, I need to make sure that I survive these 5 years, make as much as I can, and get out. Because if I live here, so I must make as much as I can. So when there is no innovation, there's there's no risk taking, there's nothing. People don't ask questions. Therefore, as long as Ogadi Dimatadi official and not ruffle feathers, they'll keep you there for 5 years and you'll do what you need to do and move on. And that is the problem. We have gotten to a point where the state is much more superior and powerful than those who should lead the state, which are politicians. And at this stage, this is what we are sitting with. And that is the reason why some of us will never be popular, because one of the things is, I am no pushover. I'm not going to have anyone who is going to tell me stuff that I don't understand. Very open-minded. I am open to be persuaded, but you are not going to feed me stuff that I know.
So, in essence, you are saying Solum Simang was lying that he had interventions ready and he was blocked by the Minister of Water and Sanitation.
He either was lying or he was very incompetent, which I suspect the second.
Okay.
Because as a mayor, you must know the powers that are vested in you to be able to do your work. Local government, there's two very powerful positions in South African political space, and they'll tell you. It's that of a president and that of a mayor.
Oh.
Yeah. They will tell you those two. Not even the premier. The premier doesn't have the kind of powers that a mayor has.
Serious?
Yeah.
So these mayors of metropolitans are actually very powerful.
No, they are powerful. Kandona no Why bring it? They can show Minero quite a little finger. Yeah, it's a problem.
So Panyaza keeps calling them on a meeting and he decides not to go.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
He will take a call from Cape Town.
Zil, yeah. They can decide not to go when there's nothing Panyaza can do. You see, then the only time when the ANC really had power and province has power, it's if they are running the metro and the province is run by them. Because if the chairperson of the province, who is deployed as a premier in government, gives you an instruction or wants to call, summons you, and you don't, they are going to deal with you politically. So you knew that he was your boss. So in a normal setting like this, bring it and show him the middle finger all you want. There's nothing he can do.
Yeah, no, I understand. So, any hope of the two power stations from Tshwane being saved by Tshwane, as it were, is there hope, or you think the best way is to sell them because it will be difficult for Tshwane to attract investment and still keep the power stations?
Look, the power stations at this stage, due to our financial situation, because the DA has completely collapsed the finances of the city. Whoever takes the city over in future must know that there's going to be some serious work that needs to be done to revive the city. So it would make sense, to bring external players, go into a private, a public-private partnership, but have that contract drawn up such that there is obviously a way forward or a future towards the asset coming back, and when it's here we are able to manage it, we are able to finance the operation of it, operate it, maintain it, and all of those things, which at this stage that capacity has been hollowed out completely. There is no capacity in the city to be able to do that, and I doubt that it is capacity that you can attract with a city like ours at this current stage, because it's very unattractive to be able to be working for a city like ours, which is struggling with what it's struggling with when there's lucrative attractions outside, especially for the kind of skill that you need in energy generation to be able to do that. So for me, it is not a feasible and a viable thing to do, and I just think that the DA wants to steal these things as we caught them out on the Kratos delay. I mean, I'm on record saying you can't, and then that thing is also one of the reasons why I got into trouble. But otherwise, there is no emergency here. Now always say, when I get here, the process 2026, when I get back, and it can be on record.
Yes.
When I get back in 2026, I'm going to go to council and put a resolution to cancel or to rescind the decisions to put these things out to the market and cancel everything. Tshwane has bigger problems, bro. Tshwane has much bigger problems that need our focus. ESCOM is being dealt with by national government and everything. When you have load shedding, so does everyone. And I don't want to sound insensitive, but so does everyone. So why do we fixate ourselves with the ability to stay out of load shedding? It is a challenge, but it is a challenge that is being dealt with elsewhere, and it must be put at those people's doorstep. We must vote out those who cannot give us energy continuously. It is not the core business of a city. The core business of a city is to make sure that people can actually drive on that road. That the roads, Samopela fire station, that they are driving. That people in Hammanskraal have clean drinkable water. That's where we should be focusing our energy and making sure that we maximize output so that our people benefit the most. Not this thing of wanting to steal power stations. Let's deal with the billing issues. Local government should be about bread and butter issues. And you want to go and talk about, we must reduce the stage of load shedding, spend billions and billions of money and plunge people of Tshwane into a debt that they cannot recover. Who's going to pay for that over 40 or 50 years? Why can't we do things that are going to really benefit the people of Tshwane? Let's take that money and go into a triple P and release land that is available and then really the service stands and put people into land and give people dignity instead of ESCOM has to deal with that problem.
Thank you. It's been a long podcast. The storm is outside. It's raining. I want you to give me projections. What are your projections for the city, for the province? What do you hope will be? What would you call a successful 2024 campaign?
Look, I'm targeting 8 seats at the minimum. If I get 8 seats, people of Gauteng, I'm happy. Because I do think that, look, Forum for Service Delivery is fairly unknown in these areas. Abel Tau is probably known in Tshwane, not that fairly known in Ekurhuleni, but we are quite big. City of Johannesburg, we're working with a party called CSA in Sidibeng, and they're quite big, they're part of government. So obviously we are hoping that we can do that and really be the kind of guys that can hold whoever is in government to account. You see, that puts you in a position to make sure that anyone who wants to run Gauteng has to come and talk to us. And that puts us in a position to say yes on these or not, and we are able to direct what government should do. And I believe that because we are so principled, because as I said earlier, that I will not wake up here and believe that it is correct that people who would have in the majority have voted for government X, and then you come in with 1 seat and you become premier. That's utter nonsense. What kind of mandate are you carrying to be able to lead at that capacity? Let's be honest with ourselves. Be the kind of people, by Lenguri, it is based on principle. But with your 1 seat, if it decides that people can actually lead or not lead, it becomes powerful, because then you can say Alexandra must be renewed or else I will pull out. Everton must be renewed, Winterfeld must be renewed. I mean, I was born in Winterfeld in 1978. To this day, people of Winterfeld don't have flushing toilets. I know someone will say, hey, no, there is sewer that they fell somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I fell I discharge it anywhere. That thing has just been left there. I mean, Winterfeld, it's a disgrace. The school I started in 1984, where we had long drops, to this day, nothing has improved. To this day. So it's sad looking at what couldn't be done. I mean, sometimes Little Foster applaud the wrong. But if you look at the government, it was 1978, and then he was overthrown in 1990, give and take. In 12 years, look at what that guy had achieved. That is solid discovery. There was Beirut, there was Mabopani Station, there was Murulasan, there was Central City, there was Mabana, there was Mega City, there was what, there was Babelechi, there was an industrial site next to Block N in Mabopani, there was Zone 15, Harangu, like in 12 years, bro, 12 years, like literally, if these people had done 80% at the pace of what that guy did, South Africa would be a first world country.
Thank you very much. I'm happy you are going to contest, and I'm gonna estimate your numbers because you did not give me your numbers.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to estimate your numbers. So you want to give me your numbers now?
No, like I said, I'm targeting 8 seats at West. People of Gauteng, I would like to at least have 250,000 votes. So it's a tall order. We need everyone. We don't have money from wine farms, by the way. So it is a tough one. So when you see our people out there, F4SD, you must know we don't have money to pay for water and all these fancy things. But there is grit and determination from our volunteers on the ground to go out there and really represent us well and say to everyone, vote for us. I genuinely think that I am the man for the job in Gauteng. I think, at West, let us be those guys who will ensure that and we can force government to redirect their resources to making sure that the lives of people are turned around. There can never be a Gauteng that doesn't work, and you see a South Africa that works. So we have a plan for a better Gauteng, and if Gauteng does better, South Africa will definitely do better. And therefore, our children in future will thank us that really we had foresight. That is what we need to fight for, the next generation.
Thank you very much.